What's up, everyone? I'm Ben with the BTC Sessions, and this is your daily session.
Hodl that Bitcoin.
Before we dive in, I just want to remind you guys, do check out my website, btcsessions.ca. This is where you can reach out to me directly and book your own BTC session to learn about the topic of your choice. If you just scroll down to the bottom, there is a contact form where you can reach me. Also, feel free to head over to my Teespring link listed down below in the show notes, and you can grab some BTC Sessions swag. But with that, let's dive into what interested me today. So the first thing I want to bring up was this tweet by the European Central Bank, or the ECB. So they had this kind of Ask Me Anything going on Twitter with the hashtag AskECB. And somebody asked the question, where did you get the money for the QE? And QE was referring to quantitative easing. And the response was, as a central bank, we can create money to buy assets, which is a very brazen way of just saying, hey, we print money all the time. So it's not a secret that they do this, but the matter-of-fact manner that it's said nowadays is just, it's pretty in your face. And the most interesting thing about this are the responses on Twitter, which are gold. So if you start scrolling down, you start to see things like, oh, create money to buy assets, mine Bitcoin to burn banks. The magic gif of Shia LaBeouf. Oh, you too? Your keys, your Bitcoin, your node, your rules. And people tweet stamping this so that they'll save it forever on the blockchain. Wrong, you create currency from thin air backed by nothing, and certainly not money. Money is gold, and digital gold is Bitcoin. Ah, man, never interrupt your enemy when he is making a mistake. There's some pretty good ones in here. Somebody, Andre, saying, I expected fancier and more confusing words for this answer. Keep printing funny money. I'll keep stacking sats. I like that. Yeah, so overall, kind of hilarious that Bitcoiners were jumping in, the BitConnect memes being thrown around by Pierre Richard. And at the same time, while ECB is doing Ask ECB and you know, throwing around that they're just printing money whenever they feel like it, the Bank of International Settlements has once again issued a warning, this time to central banks, about the risk posed by cryptocurrency exposure. So this is fantastic. They essentially go into the fact that if central banks begin gaining exposure to cryptocurrency, it's very, very risky, and they should stay away. And they in particular, they warn that it increases risk to lenders. Well, no shit. You can't. If you're lending money that you can just create out of thin air, there's very little risk there. But if you're lending hard money and the person you lend to defaults, you can't just create more of it. It's gone. So I feel like this should be inherent in our system, is there should be risk. You should calculate, is the risk worth the potential reward of lending this person my money? Am I gonna get a return? But in this culture of just money printing, and where banks themselves can essentially create debt out of absolutely nothing, and have very, very, you have fractional reserve banking where they have a tiny fraction sitting in the bank and they lend over and over again. It's insane, because it devalues our money. And who's the end person that's affected by all of this when people like the ECB just print more money and there's constant bailouts from bad decisions made by banks? Well, it's the saver. It's the person that puts away their money, the person that has long-term thinking, the person that has low time preference. They're the ones that are penalized for having that long-term mentality, for wanting to save for the future, for not wanting to spend all their money the moment they get it. They're penalized because in printing money, it is devalued. That is your inflation. It's a hidden tax on savers. But now we have an alternative. We have this money that's actually hard and scarce and cannot be printed from nothing. There's a cost associated, and there's real risk in lending it out. And so we've now got these two systems side by side. We've got this Keynesian nightmare where you just print money and spending is the best thing in the world. And if you don't spend, then it's terrible, and saving is pushed aside and discouraged. And then you have this Austrian long-term thinking sound money world that has once again been brought to the forefront with Bitcoin. And these two systems now have to coexist in more or less kind of a free market, because it's very hard to prevent people from using Bitcoin, to prevent people from holding it, to confiscate it from them. People can obfuscate how much they have. They can use it in places like Venezuela, where the currency has been devalued to nothing. They still use it there. The government has not been able to stop them from using it. And so these systems have to coexist. And it will be very interesting to come out on the other side and see which one has fared better. Now, I want to finish the story off with a quote down below from Christine Lagarde, who is the managing director of the International Monetary Fund, or the IMF. And she's talking about central banks entertaining the idea of creating their own digital currencies or cryptocurrencies. She said, "This is not science fiction. They are embracing change and new thinking, as indeed is the IMF. I believe we should consider the possibility to issue digital currency. There may be a role for the state to supply money to the digital economy." Now, some people balk at this and they look and say, state-issued cryptocurrency. I look at it as great, more competition. Whenever there's more competition injected into a space, it's a net positive for the consumer, the people who get to use it. So in my thinking, well, may the hardest and most sound money win. In my opinion, I still see that as Bitcoin. But hey, maybe this will force central banks to reevaluate their money printing ways, and maybe the ECB will be looking back on this tweet going, ooh, that better change or we're going to be out of business. Let's move on from this story. So up next, for some of you that are newer to cryptocurrency, you may not be familiar with this man, but some of you OGs watching know exactly who this is. Mark Karpeles was running the most famously hacked cryptocurrency exchange, at the time Bitcoin-only exchange, Mt. Gox. When it was hacked and resulted in losses of 500 million US dollars, or 850,000 Bitcoin. 850,000 Bitcoins. They filed for bankruptcy in 2014. So Mark Karpeles himself is facing 10 years in prison on embezzlement charges. So out of this large sum that went missing, there was also $3 million in client money that was siphoned, or allegedly siphoned, to his own accounts. He also allegedly faked exchange data. Now, he maintains his innocence on all counts, but it's alleged that he used some of these funds for things like hookers, trips around the world, paying various bills, and even buying a large extravagant bed, I imagine, for all the hookers. Anyways, Mark said that this movement of money was a temporary loan. And again, he's maintaining his innocence. Now, we should have a verdict by Friday. What are Mark's chances? Well, not great, because 99% of all cases that end up going to trial in Japan result in conviction. So, assuming that we get a conviction on Friday, we'll likely see a sentence on the same day. And this looks to be a pretty epic ending to the saga that was Mt. Gox, but I'll be sure to update you guys on that when it happens. Now I want to finish off today with Hollywood being Hollywood. There's a new movie coming out. It's called Crypto. It has Kurt Russell, it has Luke Hemsworth, and a variety of other actors and actresses in it. It looks bad. It looks bad. I will link the trailer down below, but it doesn't look great. Why? Well, I think this has a couple things going against it. So, number one, had this been released in 2017, it probably would have done quite well regardless of the quality, just given the interest in the media around cryptocurrency at the time with the massive bull run that we were experiencing. But that's not the case. So most people that would have been interested then are likely not going to go to this movie. So who does that have left? Current Bitcoin and cryptocurrency enthusiasts. And what do they want to see? They probably want to hear about how it's a technical revolution and how it's going to basically turn the banking industry on its head and replace central banks and cause civil unrest, and it's going to change everything. Well, what is this movie about? Well, this movie is about Russian mobsters using cryptocurrency to launder money. Pretty much the most basic story that you could have gone with. Doesn't look good. It kind of reminds me of The Net, which, if you don't know, was a movie in 1995 starring Sandra Bullock that was essentially fear-mongering around the internet because technology is scary.
Just give us the disc and we'll give you your life back.
She has the evidence.
She's copied the disc.
Clever girl. But they have the power.
And people don't understand it. So, yeah, I can't see this going well. People that are fans of crypto are likely not going to want to see this, and if they do, they're probably going to trash talk it and give it terrible reviews, and the general public is probably just not interested in it right now. I do have a proposal. I'm going to toss it out there to YouTube and the Twitterverse and everywhere. I propose that somebody take this trailer and re-edit it to be about the banking industry and laundering money through them. Anytime there's a reference to Bitcoin money laundering, just replace in, put in a graphic for one of the major banks. In particular, there's a scene where they show something and there's a folder that says Bitcoin payouts. If you could change that text to HSBC payouts, it would be probably pretty hilarious. Anyways, I feel like we could just call the movie Banking would probably be a great title for that edited trailer. Anyways, if somebody does this, please send it my way. I'd love to retweet it. I think it would be hilarious. But hey, that's all I have to say about that. Best of luck, but I feel like this is going to be a bomb. Anyways, I'm going to leave it there, guys. Once again, thank you very much for watching. Make sure you hit like and subscribe and hit that little bell icon so that you get notified when I'm doing new videos. Also, if you're watching for the first time, make sure whenever you see this, it does go live every day, and I'm always in the chat box on the side. So if you get those notifications, jump in the chat. I'm in there live, and I'm responding to everybody there and just chatting it up. And finally, if you do enjoy this video, be sure... I've got a tippin.me link, and you can go there and drop Lightning Network tips. I get lots of fun ones, and you can leave messages there, funny messages. If I think it's funny, usually I'll post it on Twitter. But anyways, thank you guys very much for watching. I will see you tomorrow for your daily session.